Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Karen is the worst neighbor ever. So yesterday morning, I am outside on my porch watering my plants, drinking my coffee, enjoying the beautiful day and waiting on an Instacart delivery. My new neighbor pulls up and parks diagonally across my driveway. A recurring issue for some unknown reason, my niece, who is diabetic with only 40% kidney function and one kidney, is staying with us during the pandemic. Last week, when she blocked all access to my driveway, paramedics had to beat on her door for 10 minutes to move her car out of the way so they could take my niece to the hospital after she had a severe grand mal seizure. She then had the nerve to berate the paramedics because,
"Oh, there was plenty of room for you to carry that thing around my car."
Now keep in mind that her driveway is made for 2 cars and at that moment completely empty. As she exited her vehicle, I asked her to please not block my driveway as I was expecting a grocery delivery. Karen replies with,
"You don't even have a car, I just need to change my outfit."
I told her again that I am expecting a delivery of groceries and the driver is almost here. I have a large order with several heavy items and informed her that she has an empty driveway in which to park her car, and then she screamed,
"Oh my god, I spilled my Starbucks on my shirt and I need to change, don't be rude."
She then proceeds to walk to her house and leaves her car windows down across my entire driveway. "Okay, Karen," I asked nicely. My Instacart shopper, my favorite shopper that's become a friend during this pandemic, pulls up and I asked her if she minded waiting in her car for just a moment so I could clear the driveway. I picked up the water hose and began to water my garden, which just happens to be located on either side of my driveway. I made long sweeping strokes of water with the hose. Karen runs outside, still in the same
"Totally ruined outfit,"
and starts screaming,
"My windows are down, you're ruining my car."
She scrambles into her car to move it and I am still spraying. My shopper pulls into my driveway laughing. As we are unloading groceries, here comes Karen, and she is in true Karen righteous anger mode.
"How dare you, that was so rude, you destroyed my car, now I am late for work and it's all your fault."
She turns to my shopper and screams,
"Who makes deliveries this early? This is just a plot to ruin my life. There is no way you would be delivering groceries at 9 AM. I'm calling your company and having you fired for harassment."
She turns back to me and screams,
"You don't even have a car, you don't even use your driveway, why do you care if I park in it?"
The plants looked super thirsty again right then, so I pick up the hose and inform Karen that I'm about to water my garden and to please move. She screams,
"Don't you dare turn on that water, don't you dare attack me."
I again say, "Karen, you have 2 options here. You can either move your ass off my property or you can stand there while I water my garden and get wet. Your choice." She then steps into my garden and says,
"Go ahead, I dare you, turn that hose on."
"Okay, Karen," I turned the hose on. Y'all, she lost it, screeching, screaming that I'm assaulting her and that she is calling the cops and pressing charges. She screams at Julie, my shopper, to get the hell out of her neighborhood before she gets charges too. Julie, bless her, says, "Lady, I was about ready to leave 10 minutes ago, but now I'm staying put so you don't harass my customer, and I want to talk to the cops if you're calling them." Karen makes a sound I can only compare to a demon getting its banana stuck in a grinder made of Legos and whips out her cell phone and calls 911. I invite Julie to have a cup of coffee while we wait. Police response time in this town is fast and within 10 minutes I've got 2 city cops in my driveway. Karen begins her hysterical,
"I was assaulted, you need to arrest her, I feared for my life."
BS. The second officer comes on the porch to talk to me and Julie. So we explain what happened and the cop actually laughed out loud. Oh, Karen hurt him. Now she is yelling at both officers.
"I want your badge numbers, this is ridiculous. You are not arresting her because I'm white, my rights are being violated."
I am white, Julie is white, both cops are white. Officer Laugh-A-Lot has had enough. He turns to me and asks, "Have you asked her to leave your property?" "Why, yes, officer," repeatedly. He then turns to Karen and informs her that she needs to leave my property before he arrests her for trespassing. Cue the waterworks from Karen. Officer laughs a lot, is not falling for it. Cue righteous Karen anger. She steps off my property into the street and starts screaming at the cop that she's going to
contact the chief of police that is a very dear friend and have his badge before noon.
Officer laughs a lot, looks over at her car, parked on the street now, smiles and takes out his ticket pad and requests her license, registration and proof of insurance. Karen is now purple with anger.
Oh, you're giving me a ticket? For what? I'm a legal United States citizen. You cannot ticket me for having an opinion.
Officer laughs a lot, says, I'm not ticketing you for your opinion. I am ticketing you for dead tags and blocking access to a fire hydrant. I need your license, registration and proof of insurance. Now. Karen, now in a full meltdown of tears, hands him her license and registration. He requests the proof of insurance again. She then admits she does not have insurance on her car. Officer laughs a lot, writes her a ticket for dead tags and no insurance. She is completely losing her mind at this point, but goes towards her car to move it to her driveway, screaming,
"You're getting fired today. Good luck finding another job."
However, Officer laughs a lot, informs her that she cannot legally drive the vehicle without insurance and calls for a tow truck. Y'all. Julie and I laughed so hard we damn near choked on our coffee. So Karen is screaming that this is favoritism and injustice and racism against white women. At this point, the other cop, Officer Stoic, loses his mind. He tells Karen she's got a choice: shut up or be arrested for creating a public disturbance and possibly a mental hygiene warrant. Then the tow truck arrives and hooks up her car. Karen now starts screaming at the tow operator that what he is doing is communism and that he's a communist. Officer laughs a lot and Officer Stoic both tell her to get her butt in her house before they arrest her for interfering with police duties. Karen goes towards her home while crying that she lost pay and she is suing me for property damage, assault, missed wages and trauma. She is suing the police department, she is suing Instacart. Officer Stoic looks at me, hands me his card and tells me to contact him if I end up in civil court so he can be a witness for me. I'm pretty sure the sound that came out of Karen's mouth right then is what a nuclear explosion sounds like before she calls her husband, crying that she is being victimized by the police and he needs to come home now. Right before I began writing this, Karen's husband knocked on my door to apologize for his wife's behavior. You're a good neighbor, and I'm really sorry you've been dealing with her hysterics. She's got mental health issues and refuses counseling or treatment. I don't know what to do with her anymore. We had to move from our last neighborhood because she just cannot accept that she cannot control everyone. We are not suing you. I told her that I will leave her if she files any lawsuit. I've told her it all could have been avoided if she would just stop being such a Karen. I'm sorry she acted that way and it will not happen again. The entire time he is on my porch, Karen is on their porch screeching at him that she's going to file for divorce on grounds of mental cruelty and she is taking everything he owns. This is wife abuse, Jim. This is the same as if you beat me with your fists. A husband has to support his wife, Jim. You're a traitor to me and to our country, Jim. I volunteered at the local battered partner shelter and gave Jim some pamphlets on domestic abuse, living with a partner with mental illness, and the business card of the attorney that helps our clients with obtaining a divorce. Poor Jim, I can still hear her over there screaming at him. He is sitting on their porch just looking defeated. She is mainly inside but comes out when she really wants to make a point about him cheating on her with the girl next door, because that's got to be the reason you're turning against me for that girl. Poor Jim. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I definitely feel really bad for Jim in this story. It sounds like a really abusive relationship / marriage, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I really hope that he can divorce that woman. However, unfortunately, there are no further updates to this story, so I cannot tell you what happened to poor old Jim. Anyway, if you enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then I would really appreciate it if you could also post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is titled, I Dare You to Ticket Me. My aunt has a neighbor who I would best describe as an entitled a-hole. He believes that he owns all of the street parking in front of his house and he owns a corner property, so that is a lot of spots. I've heard reports from family and friends who have parked near the corner that this man has come out of his house to tell them that he will key their cars if they don't move because those are his spots. The best part about this is that he is a cop, so he knows just as well as us that those are empty threats because we are 100% legally parked, otherwise he could just as easily write up a parking ticket, and if he were to actually key someone's car, his insurance would probably be paying for a new paint job. He just thinks he's intimidating because he hides behind a badge. The first time I drove to my aunt's after getting my own car, I parked in front of the a-hole cop's house, so it was no surprise to me when I came back to my car later in the day and found some traffic cones propped up against the back of my car, all with the local police department label on them. And here is where I enact my petty revenge. I got into my car, my mother getting into the passenger side. As I started my car, I calmly told her, "I'm putting my car into reverse and running those cones over." My mother started screaming and protesting the entire time as I backed my SUV up and rolled the cones with my tires a few times until I was satisfied that they were flattened enough before finally leaving. And the next one is titled, "I Will Screw You Over." I did construction a few years ago and worked with the coolest manager ever. His name was Thomas. Thomas had this next door neighbor, Alan, who he cannot stand. Alan would steal stuff out of Thomas's yard like gardening tools, lumber, and most importantly, dirt. Both Thomas and Alan have been growing vegetables in their backyards for years, and apparently Alan has been stealing dirt from him for years. Thomas, being a very non-confrontational dude, lets it slide. At one of the job sites we are at, they come and drop off a crap ton of soil. You could climb these things. So Thomas figures they won't miss a few bucketfuls of dirt. The GC on site did not care, so we proceed to help him load up some buckets in the back of the truck. We got 8 buckets in, and then he says to me, "Hold on, I need one more for Alan." I'm thinking that's really nice of him, thinking about his neighbor. But nope, he's going to leave the bucket out for him so he can steal that instead of taking the dirt from his garden. That is when he tells me about Alan and his thieving ways. Joking around, I say, "You should take that tub of plant killer, I don't know what this stuff is called, you have, and pour it over the fence. F him and his garden." Unbeknownst to me, the wheels of justice start turning in Thomas's head. He says nothing to me, we finish up the day and go home. About a week later, I show up to Thomas's house for work. He runs the business from home and he is grinning to himself the whole morning. Eventually, curiosity gets to me, I have to know what is up, so I ask him. He breaks down his revenge step by step. He gets home, unloads his buckets of dirt in his driveway where Alan can see them. He proceeds to dump all of them one by one where he needs them, but he forgets one. Now, this special bucket was laced with plant killer. He emptied the entire bottle in the bucket and mixed it in. Now, the best part of this is Thomas did not offer Alan the laced bucket, he just left it out. If Alan would have asked for dirt, he would have given him the stuff, but instead, of course, he opted to be sneaky. So under the cover of darkness, he runs over, grabs the bucket and takes almost all of it and then puts it back. After a week, his tomatoes withered and died. So he goes and buys new plants, but those don't last 2 days before they die. He goes back to the nursery he bought the plants from and gets more plants, for free because he complained. A few days later, bam, also dead. Every morning we check on Alan and his radioactive dirt and laugh quietly to ourselves about what we now call Operation Scorched Earth. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta admit, that is absolutely brilliant revenge on a thieving neighbor. However, I'm curious, have you ever had a neighbor that stole something from you? Or at least have you noticed it? If so, what did you do? Did you confront the neighbor? Let us know in the comments what happened. And the last one is titled Grandpa Revenge. Before I was born, my grandpa had just retired and decided, F it, I'm going to live in the middle of a mountain that is in the middle of nowhere. He bought a piece of land far away from any city or village and started building a house. His only neighbors were an old lady and a crazy idiot. After half a year, he decided to permanently move in there and started building more and more things to accommodate himself. One of the things he built were a wall around his property and an outdoor toilet. This will be important later on. During this time, his crazy neighbor was trying to sell the property. My grandpa offered to buy it from him, but the guy declined, asking for 10 times more than my grandpa offered. They got into a sort of an argument and ended all communication. Now, the crazy dude was out to get my grandpa. He would call communal services and make police officers and inspectors come on a 2-hour ride for every possible thing he could. We are talking about stuff like leaving a dog without the leash in a walled-off backyard, or having leftover building materials on the road, which my grandpa also built before they had the frickin' dirt road. Now, my grandpa did not mind, but every time the police was involved, they had to go over to the backyard belonging to the old lady, since works were going on, and crazy neighbors sealed off a gate connecting his and my grandpa's property with garbage. It did not look nice or smell nice, but my grandpa was busy with other stuff to keep removing it every night, only for the dude to rebuild it the next morning. Even though my grandpa did not care, the lady did, and she was on my grandpa's side. So, one day when the officers came, she asked a couple of questions to these lovely people. She then contacts my grandpa, and she learned 2 things. First of all, since the wall was built on my grandpa's land, he had all the rights to it. He could destroy it completely if he wanted. Second, filling a gate in the wall with crap was illegal, but my grandpa did not have the right to build a gate into someone else's yard without explicit permission either, and pursuing it in court would only end up with having to seal it off. She informs my grandpa about all of this, and soon they hatch a plan. They wait for 2 to 3 months for heavy autumn rains to start drowning the land, and then old lady files a complaint about the smell of the garbage. My grandpa pleads guilty and signs off a document that legally forces him to destroy the gate and remove the garbage from it. Now, the very same day my grandpa signs off on the documents, the biggest storm of the year starts. It rained for 7 days before inspectors could come to remove the garbage and the gate. Now, my grandpa had previously cemented 3 of the 4 drains that were built in the wall. This, plus the mountain being steep, resulted in wall acting like a dam for all the water that was coming in. Almost the entire yard was filled with water, eventually even lifting everything up from the outdoor toilet my grandpa built. His neighbor tried everything he could to stop the inspectors from destroying that garbage-filled gate. He pleaded and pleaded, but he could do nothing. He did not own the wall, and he was the one making all the communal calls, and the inspectors grew to hate him. Furthermore, my grandpa had pleaded guilty, meaning that any form of complaint on the decision of the court from a third party was impossible and deemed invalid at this point. After the inspectors removed the gate, a small sea of poop, construction materials and water poured into the yard of the a-hole and ended up watching the water destroy his entire yard, all while my grandpa and nice old lady were drinking tea from her balcony. Today, while telling me the story, he told me, "I felt like God unleashing the flood upon the sinful world back then," which made me chuckle because I know he is an atheist like me. The aftermath was even better. Needless to say, the guy needed to pay thousands to repair all the water damage and cleaning he had to do, all the while my grandpa and old lady's house were completely untouched by any of it, since they were on a lot higher ground. The best part is that since he admitted he was the one filling the gate with garbage to the inspectors, they made a note of that, and sometime later he received a written order from the court that he had to repay my grandpa for any property damage because of that. He ended up going to court, losing after the old lady testified in my grandpa's favor, and having to rebuild the gate that was destroyed along with all the court fees. The guy moved out as soon as he could, and from what the new owner said, he sold it for less than half of what my grandpa offered him. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, personally, I'm a huge fan of these grandpa revenge stories. However, this one was so perfect, I'm not sure it could get any better. Talk about a brilliant grandpa revenge. Absolutely amazing.
Disney. Oh. I think I need to cut her nails again. Can tell on her feet the claws are getting a little bit long, so I think I need to cut them soon. Oh, someone is tired, right? Oh, look at that. What does that remind me of? This? Is that the McDonald's logo? No, it would be a McDonald's logo down around. Disney is just such a cutie. Today she spent a long time in the garden, And then after like an hour, she was so tired, so she had to come back to the room, sleep. Because it does not seem like she enjoys sleeping outside. I guess it's too hot. So yeah, I think she enjoys sleeping in the room much more, right, Disney? Oh, such a cutie, Disney. Lick, lick, lick. Oh. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stories and Disney. Disney first to scratch a little bit. Imagine if humans would need to do that. To always scratch after sleeping. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I see you again tomorrow.
And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.